Welcome to Perfect-ish, where it's not about having perfect time management, but about perfecting your relationship with time. I'm your host, Callie Brigham, and every week we'll talk all things time and how to maximize it without burnout or guilt. Whether we're chatting with an expert or I'm sharing my 20 years of time management experience, you'll learn simple strategies to make every moment count. Here, it's all about getting close to perfect-ish. So let's synchronize our watches and dive in. Welcome back to the Perfect-ish podcast. I had a really wonderful, formal, well thought out introduction for today's guest. And then right before we started to get on here to record, I took one more look at her social media and I looked at her newest reel, and I won't spoil it for you if you want to go check it out. And I decided I was going to pivot from that introduction because I just finished watching a documentary. It's called The Mountain Within Me. And it's a guy named Ed. He was a professional rugby player in England, and he suffered an accident that left him paralyzed. And he decided that he was not going to let that define him. And at the end, he is climbing mountains. And so I've been really absorbed in that story and immersing myself in it. And I've been using a phrase lately that if a paralyzed man can climb a mountain, then I can ... If a paralyzed man can climb a mountain, I can ... Whether it's a silly little thing or whether it's something deeper. And on that note, and I'll let her explain a little bit more about why that resonated with me and her story, I'm so excited to welcome my new friend, Sabrina Bier, on the podcast today. And Sabrina, as you heard a little bit of that introduction and the mountain within me and climbing mountains, even with obstacles that face you, does that resonate with you at all? Welcome, Sabrina.
Thank you so much for having me. I did not know that this is the direction you were going to
No.
at all.
I didn't either. 5 minutes ago, this was not the direction, but I was like, let me just look at her social. And I thought, oh, okay, we're going to go this direction. So yeah, just how does that make you feel hearing that?
Yeah, I talk to people a lot, like even just friends and stuff. I mean, I'm a speaker, but I talk to friends and stuff just about building this like resilience muscle that all of us have already. Like we started building it. It's no different than building your biceps in the gym or something like that. You have to be aware of it and keep utilizing it. And unfortunately or fortunately for me, when I was right after high school, I was going to go to college, FSU, go Seminoles if anybody's out there, but I never actually went because the Friday before school started on Monday, I was out with my new dorm friends. And as I was walking across the street, a drunk driver came around the corner and hit me. And I ended up in a coma for a couple of days. I broke multiple bones in my body. The doctors told me I'd never be able to walk again. Like it was this whole thing. And I have no idea what happened at that moment when that doctor told me that. But in my brain, I was like, this is not going to be my life. And I went to rehab 3 days a week. I went to college on a walker and crutches and all these machines and all this stuff. And I'm happy to say I can dance in heels. And I'm not saying I don't have a bunch of residual effects happening with my body, but I just was like, I am going to the mindset of I am just going to keep going. Whatever's being thrown at me, I am just going to keep plowing through, has stuck with me ever since I was 17. So your intro documentary resonates with me a ton. And I feel like the power of our mind is, I'm not trying to be all woo-woo or whatever, but in real life, like it really makes a difference the way that you think about it and how you talk to yourself.
Yeah, the perspective is absolutely critical, mission critical in not just your physical health, but obviously mental, emotional, spiritual, physiological, everything. I heard someone say, Sabrina, that we're so quick to ask why me in a situation. I mean, gosh, girl, you were 17 years old. But maybe the better question is, why not me? Or what is this doing for me? Right. And so I say to my kids all the time to ask ourselves, why is this happening for me? And you are a living testament of that resilience muscle. I love how you said that we already have it. So it wasn't that this caused you to start to flex it or exercise it. You already had it, but maybe you weren't using it in that way. Was there any external force that said, this is how you move forward? Or was it just innate and intuitive? How did you handle that?
Yeah, no, it just, again, I don't know what happened in that moment, but maybe I'm insubordinate. I don't know, but like the doctor said, you can't do this, and I was like, yes, I can. I was like, this is not going to be my story. This is not how it ends. It's just starting, and so there was something that was built into me. Um, I contribute a lot of my like work ethic to my dad. He was an immigrant from Germany that came to New York City, when he was 18 with nothing, and I was raised watching him constantly hustle and constantly like not being, if you will, product of his environment and really pushing forward and building this beautiful life for himself, well, for us, for our family. And so I think maybe that kind of was maybe something that I had seen for those 17 years prior without really realizing what it was doing for me. But what's funny is you mentioned we ask, why me? And my parents brought me to therapy because I was, all my friends were going off to college, and thank God, because I'm not going to say how old I am, but Facebook and Instagram did not exist. And thank God, because I don't know what I would do if I like literally saw all day every day my friends experiencing this college life that I was a first generation college student, and I had dreamed about this forever, and I don't know what I would have done. But when they came back for the holidays, they're telling me, and I was like, so I went to therapy, and the therapist told me, I said, why me? And they said, well, you just happened to be in the road at that exact time. And I was like, huh, well, I don't like that answer. Right. But what I've realized, X number of decades later, is why not, right? Like exactly what you said, like, why not me? Like, why? We're all just human beings, right? And different things happen to all of us, and it's not in our control. I do believe that there is a bigger picture of what we're supposed to do with our life, but we're not in control. So I got hit by the car because I was there, because it was me. Like that's it.
The not being in control part is really hard to swallow. But at the same time, I think it allows us some freedom too, to not have to be in a box and not have to live up to what other people think is going to happen. And you did exactly that. My formal introduction of you was to give you some highlights of who you are, and I think this is of value too. You're the director of digital media and education for the largest title agency, one of the largest in the Midwest. You're an active Chicago realtor. You're the co-founder of Reconnect Chicago, a nonprofit providing resources to undeserved youth. So here, you guys, this was the original intro. You're a national keynote speaker, a proud foster parent, and of course, you mentioned being a chronic illness warrior. When I was thinking about all of those things that you've been able to accomplish in spite of, despite of, because of what you went through, I thought, first of all, that's a lot. That's a lot of hats, Sabrina. And when you hear that read back to you, all the things that you do, how does that make you feel? Do you feel overwhelmed by all of it? Do you feel empowered by all of it? Do you
Yeah.
feel yeah, how does that make you
Both of
feel?
all that. All of that. Yeah, it's funny when I do like write a bio or somebody reads something about me, I'm like, how did oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, I do that. Oh yeah, I do that. And I do feel really empowered. Life is short and our days are short, but there's also so much time, right? I mean, that's what you talk about, right? There's so much time that if you're intentional about what it is that you want to do. And I think, again, one of those residual things is that pivotal moment in my life before college started, when I was 17, really like showed me how really life can just be taken from you like that. And but it wasn't taken from me, and it very well could have, and it wasn't. And so from that moment on, I was like, I'm here for bigger things. I'm here to make some kind of impact, whether it's for one person or for 1,000 people, I have no idea. And from that point on, I only started doing, if something wasn't making me happy, I switched it up. Like, I'm not saying we don't have bills to pay and we don't have whatever, but like, I am driven by passion. And so all of those things you read about me are all equally things that I love to do.
You know, this literally, I feel like, brings us back to that topic of control. You did not have control over that drunk driver being at the wrong place at the wrong time, however you want to look at it. You had no control over that. What you have had control over are what you're passionate about, what you say yes to, what you say no to. I want to talk a little bit about the energy that it takes for time management with maybe the physical limitations that you've experienced. And the reason I say that is early on in the show, I had a friend of mine who is a cystic fibrosis
Mhm.
warrior. And she is in her 40s now, which is a miracle in that community. And she was very clear that saying yes to something, when she gets the opportunity to say yes, it is definitely a no to something else,
Yeah.
and vice versa. She doesn't have the energy to play around
Yeah.
and to not have boundaries and to not protect herself. So how have you navigated that piece? I know you're touching on it, right? You're what you're passionate about, what you do have control. What have you learned yourself that you can say yes to, no to? How do you do that?
Well, first, I'm still learning. Um,
That's always a good answer when we don't have it all figured out.
I like to say I have a good balance in my life, but I have had two autoimmune diseases my entire life. And so, well, ever since the accident, which is a whole nother story of my theory on that. However, some days are good, some days not so good. Some seasons of my life are amazing, some are not good. I've had 11 major surgeries since those initial surgeries over the past 20 years. And so I've gone through like all these different things. So one of the things is like when I feel good, I am a machine. Like I mean, from a time management perspective, a list writer, a like to-do list, a plan. I believe so wholeheartedly that if you have a dream, you have to have a plan to get there. It's one of the things I tell my foster daughters all the time. They dream big, but I'm like, well, what's the plan? What's the next step? And when are you going to accomplish it? Because it's not so much about when you complete the plan, it's that you go through the steps to complete it. Because sometimes it was like, okay, for instance, to become a foster parent, first and foremost, I lived in a one-bedroom apartment. So first I had to find a bigger place to live. And I also had to become a foster parent, right? So I had to put those things down as step number one and step number two. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, I can do that in a month, right? But then I ended up being really sick and whatever. But I never lost track of that's my next goal, my next mini goal that I had to hit. And it was the same way in my real estate career. It's the same way in pretty much everything I did. I don't put so much emphasis on how long it's going to take me. I just put the emphasis on to keep going in that direction.
I heard someone say, I love that, Sabrina. I heard someone say that the date or the time is in quicksand, but
Mhm.
the plan or the goal is in cement. That
Yes.
that doesn't change, but the other is fluid and it can change. But sometimes we get it twisted and we start to feel defeated, or we think that it's not going to happen, or and so you're giving us some freedom to say that the timeline is fluid of it, but
Yeah.
not the mission or purpose. Is that right?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. You articulated it much better than me,
I
but
know.
yes, that is exactly like that's exactly it. Because I truly believe that our dreams, right, are the things that get put into our brains that excite us, that are exciting for us, should remain there. right? And maybe right now is not the time. I tell this to people all the time that have young kids, right? Maybe now is not the time to take this risk of whatever, right? But that doesn't mean that that dream needs to go away. That doesn't mean that you can't come up with a plan that's for later on, right? Like it's I just think the plan of action. I use this analogy sometimes when I do, like, in one of my keynote speeches. I call it the lighthouse effect, where it's like you are in a boat and you see this lighthouse and that's your goal, right? And I'm not talking about that big your why, or whatever. I'm talking about whatever the goal is that you want to accomplish. And you're in the boat. Now that might be far away, so your boat might need to stop for gas. There might be bad weather, right? Or hey, you might just want to anchor and splash around in the water for a couple of days, right? Like, there's so many things, and to plan for all of those things. But let's say your boat flips over because of tragedy, bad weather happens. When you come up from the water, you can look around and find that goal, and you keep going in that direction, because otherwise you're going to be all over here and all over there, right? And that's how I think I've lived my entire life. Like, these goals have taken me, I mean, it took me almost 6 years to graduate from college, right? But it was a goal of mine. I was going to be a first generation college grad. Like, I didn't care how long it took me or what I was going to have to go through. That was going to happen. And it did. And it was the mentality and the plan.
This is such a powerful image that you've given us with it. And what it makes me think in my however many years, I'm not going to say how many years it's been since I was 17 or in college either, Sabrina. We don't go there here.
No.
No, we don't go there. But sometimes as I look back on dreams or goals, and I, we'll use those interchangeably just for the
Yeah.
sake of ease. But when I look back, it actually wasn't finishing or achieving the goal or the dream that really was where it was at. It was actually the journey.
Yeah.
And so as you're talking about it, I'm thinking, yeah, sometimes we do need to anchor up and take a breath. Sometimes we are going to get capsized. And when you get there, wherever there is, don't negate the fact that the actual journey, to me, again, in my old age now, to me, it was never really the destination. It was really the journey.
Yeah, I agree. And, honestly, like, as you're on the journey, right, the destination can change. And that's the amazing thing about being alive and living is we are in control of some of the aspects of our life, especially decision making. And that changing of, let's just say, the lighthouse, you're like, okay, well, I'm headed here, but oh, look, there's one over there, it's a little bit further. I need to stop, reboot, and come up with another plan to get there, right? But the detours are what I believe makes life exciting. Like, I can literally say, even though sometimes I'm like, what the heck, like, God, please, this is enough, right? But I'm literally excited about what tomorrow, right? I don't know.
The detours are part of the destination process too. And I have a feeling, and we're just getting to know each other better, which I love, but I have a feeling that the foster care, the Reconnect Chicago that you have, I have a feeling that wasn't an original direction that you were going in. And I want to learn more about that. Tell us more about where that took you and how you make time for that and what that value is.
Yeah.
I imagine for the kids, but also for you.
Yeah. The foster care thing is probably the number one thing people tend to ask me about, because I don't talk about it a lot. So once they find out that I have two foster daughters who are now young adults, they have a lot of questions, or just curiosities like, wait, what? Like, how did that happen? Well, I say everything stems from the car accident that I told you about when I was 17, but I ended up shortly thereafter getting two autoimmune diseases, one back to back. And when I was 28, I found out that I couldn't have children of my own, biological children of my own. So I had always thought, oh, that's fine. Like, I can adopt, I'll have the husband, he'll love me, we'll adopt a baby. It might not be his first choice of things to do, but he'll love me, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to create this family. And I never got married. And I never found that person for so many other reasons, right? This is not a dating show, so we could leave that for cocktails later, right? But for so many other reasons. And so then it was like, but I still want to have children, like or be a mother of some form or some sort. And I had volunteered at different types of nonprofits, Big Brothers Big Sisters, like all these things, and I loved being that kind of mentor. Long story short is I ended up bringing in my oldest daughter when she was a young teenager. So I didn't even have children, I had teenagers. And then I ended up bringing in her sister, who was also in the system a couple years later. And now they've graduated. And so from high school, and they're in college. And so people like ask, like, how on earth, do you have the time to do that? In addition to, like you mentioned, all those other things in my intro. And I just turn around and say, usually to other people, well, how do you have time to do all the things that you do? Right? Like, because I think people think sometimes, because when you read my intro, you labeled all these things for me. Right? And I think sometimes people don't hear that enough, because we can label that many things for most people, especially for women. Right? Especially for ambitious women. I bet I could label you with 7 different things. I could label whoever with 7 different things. And so it's like, well, how do you, I always turn around, I'm like, how did you have the time to do X, Y, and Z? So long story short, that I think that answers the question.
Yeah, you can see my face as I'm listening to you. And I think that a couple of things as I am processing it. One is, if we really gave ourselves credit for all of the responsibilities that we had, I think that it would probably give us some sense of greater accomplishment than we tend to do.
Yeah.
Because it is easy to read your bio, and I'm glad that I got a chance to do that when I diverted from the original intro. But you're right. If we labeled all of the things that we do in a given day, I think we would surprise ourselves, shock ourselves, but also we would realize just how much of an impact that we make, whether it's the director of this or whether it's the CEO at home kind of situation. And then, Sabrina, as you're talking, just like we've been saying this whole time, you made time and intention for the things that were most valuable to you.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I don't get off course and waste time doing a bunch of nonsense, because I do that as well. And then I get mad at myself and I'm like, man, what did I even do yesterday? I did nothing, and like I accomplished 2 things on my to-do list. Right. And I tend to then stop, breathe, give myself some grace. Like, Sabrina, it's okay to not be on 100 all day, every day. Figure out, I sit down with, I don't drink coffee, I drink tea. But I sit down with my tea and I prioritize. Like, okay, I only have today. I didn't do what I wanted to do yesterday. What are the most important things I need to get done this morning, this afternoon? What has to be done before I go to bed tonight? And then the next day I can start over, right? So I think that internal motivation, you have to find it, right? And everybody has different reasons. You could say it's your why, right? Like your why do you do all the things you do? It could be just your own pride of like, I'm not going to fail, right? That's more for me, is like, I'm not going to not be good at this. Like, so let me get my stuff together here and let's get at it. And yeah, and this day and age, we get distracted by so many things. Like, I mean, I go to post a reel on Instagram and an hour later, I'm like, whoa, what am I doing? Like, why am I making cooking recipes and I barely even cook? Like, what is happening? So the distraction thing is something that I'm still learning. And honestly, like, your podcast is great for all all this stuff, right? Because we all, as much as we try to do so many things and have great time management skills, a lot of us do, there's still things that we are terrible at.
Well, that's why the name of the show is not perfect. It's perfect-ish because there are winning moments. There are winning moments when we do knock off that to-do list, and there are winning moments when the plan went according to plan, but most of the time, there are distractions and there are feelings of guilt because we didn't do, and so it's maybe less about figuring out how to do everything the status quo, and it's figuring out how to get back on track when we get off and
Yeah.
not letting too much time go by. I feel like that was something too um that I was hearing a little bit from you. We all have an off hour, we all have an off day. What we want to avoid is an off week
Yep.
and an off month. And when we're placing guilt and we're not giving grace on ourselves, that I find is when the spiral starts to
Yeah.
happen.
It's almost like no different than dieting, right? Like you hear all the time, like, oh, if you go and eat, 2 pieces of chocolate cake, then tomorrow you start over, right? Like you get back on it. You don't go and then eat 4 pieces of chocolate cake the next day, or you know what I mean? Like you don't just keep going. It's this kind of discipline, I guess, is what it is. But the spiral is hard, and even if you do spiral for a couple of days, again, it's kind of one of those things, you got to give yourself grace. You need to ask for help, which is super hard for most of us to do. And you need to just kind of get back in line. And that's why I keep on mentioning like your why, because I think that that is like the thing that like helps when life gets hard, or we go through these depressive moments, or we go through this anxiety driven day or overwhelm, to like refocus on what am I doing all of this for, and respark that inside of you so that you can sit down and you can make the sacrifices that you need to make. You can miss this fun event that your friends are going to in order to get your to-do list done because you didn't do it yesterday.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like you are really well positioned to speak to somebody who does feel that maybe they are stuck in their story somewhere. Maybe they haven't found their greater purpose. And I just feel like there's something about how you're describing your own life and your own path and your encouragement to other people that today could be today could be the day that they need to make that change and to make that decision. So if you were sitting with, and you are right now, as people are listening, if you're sitting with that person that says, well, gosh, Sabrina, I want to know more about where I find my purpose and my why, what would you say to them?
You know, I wish it was a very easy, like, couple of sentences that I could say. What I really like recommend, what worked for me, is to really sit down in calm and peace. And whether that's 5 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night or a random Saturday in the middle of the day where everyone's busy and you have a minute, and to really start like writing down what what drives you, what makes you excited, what are these big dreams that you have, even if you think they're unachievable, like what are they in this ideal world? Because then you're going to start to really like narrow in on what your why is. So a lot of people, a lot of people's why is their children, right? They want to be an example for their kids. Well, there's a lot of us that don't have these young kids watching us, right? And that makes the why a little bit harder to identify, right? And the same thing with every other scenario, right? It's hard to really find it. And I recommend taking the time to find it because it's going to help drive your dreams and ambitions to fruition if you know why you're doing it.
I remember feeling this heavily during the pandemic, as we were kind of coming out of the pandemic. I felt like there was a lot of clarity prior, and then just everything turned upside down. The way we were able to operate life and business and everything was completely changed. And I remember feeling like, how you said at the beginning, the resilience muscle. I felt like my resilience muscle was atrophied. I felt like my dream muscle was atrophied. It was survival. It wasn't dreaming. It was just making it through another day. And I remember sitting here. Some people know this story, Sabrina. But I was sitting here at this very desk that I'm recording at this very computer, and I could not think of one thing that felt like purpose or dream. And so I Googled it. I Googled, what are dreams for women?
Yeah.
That's how deficit I was. And the first few, I didn't necessarily resonate. And then there was a couple, just like you're saying, this is so spot on. And I started to write down a couple of things. And one was even just to have like fresh flowers in your house every week. I mean, I had to start small in order to give myself permission to get bigger.
Yeah.
That's how depleted I was. So I think too, the sacred act of allowing yourself to sit there and give yourself permission. And hey, if you got to Google it first because you just can't think of anything, then Google it. But
Yeah.
start somewhere, right, Sabrina?
Yeah. Like even more recently, I hate talking about this because I actually get mad at myself that I let this person impact me so much. But I had a relationship that ended a year and a half ago that, and I had said I'd never been married, like, and so this was like, oh my gosh, like this is why nothing else worked out. Like this is it. Like this is amazing. Our families were, became family together. Everything was wonderful. And then it blew up and ended for pure betrayal. Nothing. I mean, sure, I played a part. We all play parts in things, but anyway, this is not a therapy session. And so,
Sometimes it turns into a therapy session, and we're going to totally blame him, by the way. So
okay, good.
it is all his fault.
Well, it's 99%. Okay.
Yeah, that's enough.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I lost hope, and that's a very, very scary place to be. And that's it. This when you were just talking about, a couple of years ago, it brought me to just this place that happened a year and a half ago for me. I literally lost hope. And I didn't have this lighthouse that I keep talking about. I couldn't see it. It had blown away, right? It no longer existed. I'm treading water. I'm like, what is happening? Where do I go? I need some relief. Why do I feel like this? I'm spiraling, all this stuff, right? And that's when I leaned in on that resilience muscle because I had been through so much stuff already, right? I had overcome so many obstacles already. How did I do that? What was the hope when I was doing all of that? Right? What was that why that got me through those things? And, my why was different. I mean, what ended up happening is I was like, where am I the happiest and most fulfilled? And it was on a stage. And I had been teaching classes in real estate for years. I had been teaching classes on like personal branding, marketing yourself. And I was like, no, I want to talk about this resilience muscle. And I got repumped, and I have been repumped ever since. And I share that story to say that I think everyone goes through what you went through and what I went through, and some of them, are a lot deeper, a lot lower than others, and definitely seek medical help or professional help if you're feeling like that. With anybody that's listening, but to be able to find that hope, that why, that dream, that thing, and then find the path to get there, because you could have it, but if you don't have the path, right? So research, lean in on your resources, your people, listen to podcasts, get inspired by other people, and then just go do it. I don't know. I got off track.
No, this is right on track. This just jazzes me up, Sabrina, because you and I have both been a part of a organization called Brand Builders Group, and one of the things they say is that you're best positions to serve who you once were, and in kind of in my own words, and for you to be able to pause in the middle of the pain and to look back and say, wait a minute, the girl that I was and what I learned from her, I can tap into that today. I can warrior up with it. There can be a reason. All of the things that I've been through have led me to now. That's getting your power back. That's getting your control back. That's finding your purpose. I mean, I feel like everything that we're saying here today is layering upon itself to really emphasize that point. I love that you said that because it does give purpose to pain. It does give mission to the messy part. This is the real deal. Hey, it's real with Sabrina. That's your handle. If we can't get real about this, what have we been doing?
Yeah. Well, I think we all are a lot more alike than we give credit to, or that we, in professional worlds, I should say, sometimes hide behind a mask, right? Not out of fear, out of like strategy, right? To accomplish the thing, for people to hire me to do the whatever. But that doesn't mean that behind the mask, we're not all kind of suffering with the same, I use the word suffering, I don't know if that's the right word, but we're not all going through the same types of things, or have been at different seasons in our life. And I love that those of you and other people that have these podcasts where we can like really like tap into and be like, wow, that's me. Right. And learn these tools, because at the end of the day, it's like we have this one life to live. Like, that's it. And you've got to make time for what it is that you really want to accomplish, because before you know it, I mean, talk to anybody that's like retired and older, right? Before you know it, that's where you're at. And so, living, like you mentioned it earlier, like being intentional about your life, like you are in the driver's seat. Well, you might be in the passenger seat, depending on who you think drives the truck. But you do have some control on your life, and the way that you create it and cultivate it, even when you're in situations and circumstances that you don't think you'll ever get out of. If you believe that you're going to get out of it, I truly believe you will get the chance to get out of it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't wanna, just like we would say we don't wanna waste time, right? We don't wanna waste what's happened to us. And I love that literally right before is when I saw your latest reel, and it is what stood out to me, Sabrina. It's what I wanted to tap into more about you. That transparency, that authenticity, what you've been through. I know you can do all the other stuff. You can teach about real estate and branding, but I want the real Sabrina, and I want to know and tap into what has allowed you to be who you are today. And one of the ways I've described it is that we all have bricks of adversity. Okay, it was just a way that it came to me to picture in my mind, right? That we have. I used to say 3 things. Now I say 4 things that we can do with them. And the first one is that we leave them in our path and we trip over them, and we can be a victim of them forever, right? And we could say, well, I would make time for that, but this
But I
happened to me
keep
when I was.
stubbing my toe. I keep stubbing my
Yes. Yeah, I keep stubbing my toe on something that happened to me when I was 17 or
toe.
7 or 27. And the next thing we can do is build a wall. It feels like a protection, but really what we're doing is we're closing ourselves in, we're keeping other people out. We don't share about it. And I'm not saying that you should share about everything right away. You'll know when it's time. So, those are the 2 really common things that happen. And then I used to end on saying that we can put them one on top of the other, and we can keep building and keep building. And then before long, we've built a platform. And that is what you've done with yours. And then I realized, though, I needed to add a 4th because not everybody's ready for a platform. They're not all a keynote speaker like you are, but we could lay them next to each and build a bridge to
Oh,
somebody.
it's good.
Yeah.
Really good.
And but that's why I'm drawn to you and your story, because it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
And thank God that day, whether again it was like nobody's gonna tell me what to do, I would kind of be like that too. But you are a bridge builder, Sabrina. You have also built that platform. Girl, I cannot wait to watch you use your voice even more. And I
Yeah.
know that you're excited to do that because this is where it's at, and this is what resonates with people.
Thank you. Yeah, I thank you so much. I'm excited too. And like you said, like the third thing where you said building that platform, I haven't spoken about any of this stuff. Like this is all within this past year that I've realized that like literally a breakup, somebody else, nothing I did, nothing in my control almost broke me. Right. And it's like, how am I going to let a person, another human being that's just a human, break me? Like, that's ridiculous. And I say that with like some sarcasm, right? Because I'm not saying it's not painful and doesn't hurt and your whole life doesn't fall apart. But it, like that platform was like, wow, I had never experienced that before, where a lot of people have experienced that 20 years ago. Right. And I'm like, I want to kind of talk about it a little bit. But the thing that I absolutely love that you just said when you talked about your four ways of the bricks of adversity that we come across. Well, one is everybody's got the bricks. There is not one person I have ever met in my entire life that has no bricks. And the control that we have over our life is what we do with them, which is what you just said. And that visual is so empowering, and thank you for sharing that. I don't know if you've been sharing that forever or when that came about, but what we do and the way we think about our life and the things that happen to us, like, I don't know, when you asked me a question earlier about people that are stuck, everybody gets stuck. We all, every single, I don't care what anyone tells you, everybody has been stuck. Everybody has had adversity. Everybody has had challenges. And guess what? We have all survived 100% of the challenges we've been through thus far.
I had that in my mind too, and I was like, "Wait, how does that phrase go?" So thank you. I was gonna bug me. I was gonna after this, I was gonna remember it and be like, "I wanted to say that." That's right. We've survived 100% of it. And now what are we gonna do about that? What are we gonna make time for in that too? Ah, this is so good. Okay, now that this is really becoming part of your voice and your platform, tell everybody. So if they're watching on YouTube, they've seen your social media handle the whole time. Of course, in the show notes and when we share all this, they'll get it too. But tell everybody where to find more Sabrina because we want to be part of this journey towards the next lighthouse. You know, we're going on a little
Journey.
cruise, yeah, a little cruise of all the lighthouses. Tell everyone where to find you, and then if there's anything that we missed that we didn't have in our discussion that's on your heart, now's the time, girl.
Thank you. Yeah, I recently started a new social platform called Real with Sabrina. So real, like real talk, Real with Sabrina. My name, Sabrina Bier, is another social media handle all on all the platforms, but it's very professional, very real estate focused, very education focused. But for the real me, the person behind the scenes, it's Real with Sabrina. And thank you for giving me this platform, right, to express or share just some of the things that I've learned. And I realize that a lot of people have learned a lot of things, but how to articulate them is takes time, right? And so over the past year and a half, I've been studying on how to articulate these things because I think that that really is the key to it all. And when we talk about, when you and I talk about like time management, it's like, well, when do you find the time to do that? And it's, I mean, honestly, like I literally old school time block things. Like I open my calendar and I'm like, you know what, on Tuesday for an hour, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it every Tuesday for an hour, and because again, it doesn't matter how long it takes. It's just the fact that I'm moving closer to that goal that makes me feel accomplished and makes me feel like I'm living a purposeful life with intention. And I think that that's really important. And I will just end all of this by saying that I spent a lot of my life thinking, because of my illnesses, because of literally my shattered bones, that I was broken. And what I realized in life is one, every single person is broken. and the break, the quirk, the thing about you that always made you different, or maybe you were even teased or bullied when you were young about it, or whatever the case, is actually the thing that's going to catapult you to the next level of your life. You just have to accept it. A lot of times we fight it, we build up this wall, we hide, and instead we don't embrace it and we don't accept it. And that, if I could share that with the world, like for people to live more confidently out in this world of who they are and what makes them unique, then I will have done my job.
Well, you're doing your job. And if I can take what you said and add to it, I feel like your brokenness and you're choosing to share it heals other people. So,
Thanks.
yeah.
Well, thank you again for giving me and everyone else this amazing platform, because we are not perfect.
We are. But I do like perfect-ish. I'm not mad at that.
I love it.
Yes. Sabrina, I have the best time hearing this little bonus question. And it's a gift. It's a free gift. It's a pretend gift. And it's the gift of an extra hour. So you were talking about how you time block things and you do okay. So let's say that all your hours of the week, I've given you an extra one. You can do with it whatever you want. No judgment, no shame. It's yours. But now you got to tell us, what would you do with your bonus hour?
I would make more time to love on the people that love me. I would spend more time having an hour-long phone call, or just sitting and grabbing coffee or going for a walk with someone. That quality, real, true quality time.
Well, then my prayer for you is this next week, this next 2 weeks, that you are able to find a precious bonus hour. And if you feel led, you'll have to let me know about
I
it,
would.
who it was with.
Well, now that you put it out there, now I must.
Now you must. Now you must. Oh, friend, this was a delight to get to know you more and to hear your story. And I feel like it's just the beginning for us to unpack and learn, and for you too, for your voice to grow stronger and bolder and bigger, from that brokenness to the power that you have now and the healing power that you have for other people. So what a privilege to be one of the first ones to hear some of this new direction that you're going in and everything that's led up to it. And so everyone follow Sabrina. All of her details will be in the show notes as well. And if you loved today, share it with a friend too, because our capacity for ourselves is doubled when we get to have these conversations with other people. And so thank you again, my friend, for being part of this conversation today.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you as well. Thank you.
I love it. Well, thanks again for listening, and God bless until next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Perfect-ish Time Management Podcast. Let's keep the fun going. Follow me on social and join our Facebook community. And if you're ready for some one-on-one time management coaching to reach the top of your game without burnout or guilt, I'd love to chat. Book a free interest call using the link in the show notes or send me a DM. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star review and share it with a friend who's ready to master their time too. Remember, we're in this together, making real progress towards becoming perfect-ish.